Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another week and another beautiful week of the USL with the USL show. Look, there is so much happening. There are teams falling that you wouldn't think would be falling. There are teams getting wins that we didn't think would be getting wins. League Two is back this week. The W League is back this week. We are about to be a holistic league once again, and I honestly could not be more excited. And someone who probably also could not be more excited, even though he is not keeping up his shaving after every win deal. Phil, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm tempting fate this week and going back to the beard, but it was either like try to keep up with the win streak or like get a bunch of crap on this show for not shaving. So I'm just seeing which one balances out. We'll see. But yeah, this one's for the chat.
If El Paso drops any points this week, that beard's going to be gone after the next win.
Absolutely.
The opposite of a playoff beard, and I'm all about it.
regular season baby face.
Going down to my bottom right corner, I guess for me, I have to mirror my look and look to my bottom left. That's weird. To someone who is, I guess, was buzzing during the Scottish Cup a little bit. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well and wearing this in preparation of either they're clinching the league title this weekend against Hearts or being petty enough to lose that game and then clinch the league title against Rangers midweek at Ibrox.
I'm all here for it. One of my coworkers was from Glasgow, and he said that he didn't really keep up with soccer that much, but he said he did always keep up with that match because they would shut down pretty much every single street in Glasgow. And he said one year they were like, "There's too much drinking going on. We're going to postpone the game until 3." And then we're going to post. And then they were like, "Well, and then they were like, let's go all the way to a night game." And then they realized that's a lot of drinking. They were like, "We're going to go the opposite direction, and we're going to have it at 11 a.m." And then they realized that people were staying up all night, not going to bed, just having a constant rager in the bars. And they were like, and it was apparently the worst match that they had ever had because no one went to sleep and were just drinking the entire time, which I think is incredible.
I think they just tried to schedule that game against Hearts this weekend to not coincide with the King's coronation because seeing an Irish club winning the league when they crown a new king is something they certainly wanted to avoid.
Seems like something they would want to do. Now to the person to my right, and I'm having to look over to my left because I can never figure this out. John, man, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I don't know if we have it scheduled to talk about, but I'm really upset that the league is passing me over to replace Jake Edwards. I know I said it on Twitter, but I feel like I would be a really great president for the USL. Like I've got a clear vision of where this league should go. So hit me up, anyone at the league office.
If we're going to because last year we did our State of the League, which was a pretty successful show. If you were to make your promises as you make your official campaign for the USL president, because they haven't officially, they don't officially have one. You're still in the running. What's your speech? What's your campaign slogan?
I mean, if I'm trying to appeal to like the Twitter audience, it's got to be pro rel, right?
Yeah. But
otherwise, I feel like it's bringing a team to New York. Otherwise, in a personal sense.
I mean, surely going to New York is going to be the easiest way to get elected because they're like, that's a lot of money right there.
Yeah, bring back the Cosmos. There we go.
Bolt or Winger as your running mate.
That Loudon horse.
Oh man. Look, there's so much to talk about this week. And before we dive too far into it, because there are some major storylines, because I do want to talk a little bit about Jake Edwards and that unlocked article that you put out, John, hashtag ad. I do want to go ahead and thank for the first time in the 2.0 a sponsor. That's right. We have a sponsor. And if you are in a betting legal state, you know which one you are. VPNs don't work. Don't try it. Check out betstamp.app/sign up. What this is have you ever been to like TripAdvisor where they get to show you like all the different kinds of like not like odds, but like what do they call them? Just
Different
prices
flights,
for stuff
hotels. Yeah.
like flights, hotels, and if you bundle this with this and this, you get the best price. That is what Betstamp does. Betstamp is all about finding you the best odds on the stuff that you know. And here's the thing. Here's a little betting secret. The bookies don't know crap about the USL. It's free money. And speaking of that free money, Phil, because you need to gloat a little bit, there were some odds that you found.
Oh yeah, no, I mean me and John both latched onto the
Yeah.
same one immediately, which is El Paso plus 296 in Colorado Springs on Friday. That is a $100 bet, wins you $296. So that is good odds, good eating. Another one that I saw, Detroit Tulsa plus 242 to draw. That feels like that feels amazing. So anyways, like yeah, there's some decent odds out there in USL if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if you go to betstamp.app/sign up and you use our code USL, it's really easy. 3 letters. Even I can do it. Bama Education, USL, not even phonetic, just the letters. It just use that. It really supports us and help us produce this. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, because we still haven't figured out how to do the rest of this stuff, I promise I'm working on it. Thank you. And check it out. It's all going to be in the description. Check out the Spotify description and all that jazz. So thank you all. And check that out. Betstamp.app/sign up code USL. Speaking of the USL, hey, Jake Edwards is gone after 10 years of what I think is a bit of a controversial time in the USL because if you look at the stability that he has brought to the league, I mean, for a lot of us who have been following the league for a long time, we talk fondly about YouTube days with the YouTube chat, and then eventually the YouTube chat got banned because there's a lot of weird stuff going on in those YouTube chats. To getting into ESPN, to having clubs folding less often. And whenever it does happen, it's a genuine shock when we find out someone is in danger of folding. Going from every single year you could bet on 3 teams leaving and going elsewhere, joining another league, or just dying altogether. It's kind of unreal the stability that Edwards brought, but a lot of people were talking about how it was very funny that as that deadline came up of the pro rel deadline that he set, he kind of dips out. I guess some people still see that time there. Um, you know, I don't know. I guess I want to start with you, John, because you have the unlocked article on backhill.com/. That's a hashtag ad right there. Um, I kind of talk about what you wrote a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, what's important to keep in mind is where the league was when Jake Edwards started and where it is now. In 2015, when he took over, this was one league, one professional league with 16 independent teams. They were the third division in hot competition with the NASL, which really had momentum, launching Indy 11, getting the Tampa Bay Rowdies revival. And I know I've invoked them before today, but the New York Cosmos as that big media market team. Edwards makes the wise decision to pair up with MLS, get the 2 teams in there as something that's going to stabilize, that's going to cheapen the travel cost, and make sure that you have a competitive, unique environment. Everything builds from there. You're seeing the growth into now 2 independent divisions. You've got more than 30 clubs representing communities across the country. You're seeing teams sell players off to European leagues for 6, 7 digits. I think what Edwards has done is promote sustainable growth. He's never gone for those home run swings as much as people would want promotion and relegation. That wasn't viable for where the league was at throughout his reign as the president. And I think what he's done is just make sure that everyone is on stable ground. The league is in a better place in terms of media, advertising, expansion fees are going up. And you've got the CBA with the players, which is so important. You've seen growth in the women's game. I know I'm going on and rambling a bit, but I think it speaks to the fact that Edwards has done so many things in so many different areas to make sure that the USL is there to provide soccer for pretty much anyone who wants it in this country.
Yeah, I would just echo all of that. And I think there's a lot of people who from outside of USL, probably more so than inside, like fans of clubs, I would say, especially all of like us who have teams that formed during Edwards' reign, and like you, without a stable second division, you can't really picture some of these teams existing. Whereas some of the NASL teams like started through almost sheer force of will. So anyways, like it has given professional soccer to a lot of areas that wouldn't have had it in a previous ecosystem. And I think it's fair to call out like, hey, there are promises that Edwards didn't deliver on necessarily in his time, but at the end of the day, like the name of the game in lower league American soccer is survive. And like, he's done more than that. Like the USL has actually taken steps like towards the next level of stability and viability. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you can characterize it as anything other than a success, even if you do say that, there are things that maybe we would have liked to see. I think the ecosystem exists, and whoever is next in that seat like gets to carry on the torch, I guess, in terms of our expectations of the next person are going to be like even higher, which I think is a testament to Edwards.
Yeah, and they say the kind of slogan of "raise your game" within the league is certainly just something that USL has done since Edwards has been in charge and has taken over. We talk about having been on the old days of YouTube to getting that ESPN deal, but like Phil has mentioned, there are some things that hasn't really panned out. One that really sticks out in my mind was, I think, by 2020, they wanted every single team coming into the league to have their own soccer-specific stadium. Of course, other world events kind of threw a wrench into everything at the time. But the league is certainly on a more stable ground than when he started. And as of right now, we have basically 24 teams in the championship that are basically the 24 most stable teams the league has seen over the years, with more teams growing and expansion size coming along the way. It's been a very sustainable growth for the league, and it's something that it provides really good footing for moving forward. And like one of the things that really stuck out to me was just that USL has provided a lot of a platform for a lot of players who wouldn't have gotten that opportunity, that you see CONCACAF as a whole region really grow within the sport, and that a lot of these other nations are benefiting from having this sustainable ecosystem of clubs and leagues to play in and just provide that more opportunity.
The biggest thing for me, and we can talk about, the second division, the third division with League One and the championship. To me, the biggest form of growth has been in the semi-pro ranks. When you have W League, when you have USL League Two, which is formerly the PDL. Luckily, in the position that we are in on the USL show, if we reach out to a team, we're in a very privileged position that we usually get an answer, right? And the one thing, because we normally get into these where we talk to a lot of League Two and W League coaches on the show, because we talk a lot about the championship and a good bit about League One, but those clubs don't get a lot of shine. And the big thing that I always hear is, USL League Two, formerly PDL, when they came into League Two, it is just such a better product to be a part of than like UPSL or even NPSL, which sounds like blasphemy for anybody who's been around NPSL for a while. Like, that has been the gold standard of semi-professional footy for men's teams, right? UWS, WPSL have been around for a long time for women's, but W League just seems to be doing something different. It all being under the same house, under the same leadership, and frankly having the same if or just similar resources, it makes a big difference. And we have seen in the US that semi-pro teams can really carry this country. I mean, hate them, love them, whatever in between. I mean, you knew about Detroit City when they were semi-pro. You knew about your Chattanooga FCs when they were semi-pro. Now you're seeing, San Francisco. You are seeing Ballards. You're seeing all these semi-pro League Two teams. They are raising the game of everybody else, and they have been for a long time. And now under League Two, we're seeing a lot more chance to flourish. And I think that's been really the biggest and most underrated part of Edwards' reign for those 10 years with the USL.
I'll be at some Toledo Villa games this spring summer, so I'll be sure to be up the villains, but not those. Anyways, so no, League Two is cool, and just like you said, Kaylor, just it means that everybody pretty much has a team in their backyard.
Absolutely. Anybody else they want to get a idea out on Jake Edwards? No.
Thanks for the memories.
Thanks for the memories, man. Appreciate you. And if you ever want to join a podcast that talks about second and third division soccer in the United States, you know where to find us. You still follow us on Twitter, and I'm not afraid to DM you. Let's go ahead and move on, and let's go ahead and go to this week's USL Tactics Show.
Welcome into the USL Tactics Show, where today I want to talk about New Mexico United and their use of various shapes across their recent game against Orange County to get the win. Now you're going to see their baseline formation here. It was a back three of sorts in which Austin Yearwood played a little bit righter at that right center back spot alongside a higher Harry Warts on the right. But the real spark came down the left whenever Josh Suggs embodied that left wing back role, got forward, and engaged with Santi Moar, Josh Doling, the players in that left forward position. You'll see him overlap in the first case, underlap here, and challenge an Orange County team that relies on high fullback play. That was the impetus behind the change into this shape for Zach Prince and his team. However, there were opportunities for Orange County to get into the space behind the wingbacks in that system. You're seeing a goal there that was ruled offside, but it's driven by Ryan Dogman, the left back for Orange County, getting up the pitch and punishing the fact that New Mexico is playing with aggression down the wings. Now, often New Mexico is a team that doesn't really use attacking-minded fullbacks and wingbacks, and when they do use them, they're not always the most comfortable. Hence, they switched into a 4-2-4 later on in the game by bringing on Amando Moreno and changing up that back line. And of course, in the end, they won the game 3-1 and had 7 of the most dangerous chances in the game by expected goals because of these shifts. You'll see the way that Moreno gets onto the second ball here. He creates that odd man advantage. Ostensibly, it would be a 4-on-4 with that front line against the back line of OC, but OC is aggressive in the wide areas, and Zach Prince knows this, changes the shape, and gets that edge. Sam Hamilton creates the turnover here. It's a 5-on-4. Orange County gets too narrow, and you're going to see a goal that seals the game because of it. New Mexico isn't perfect. They didn't play a perfect game, but they made the right changes to win this one and use their personnel to the max.
I'm going to pull it up one more time because the first time I watched this, because I watched the game as a replay, the back pass that gets played through, and I believe it's Cody Cropper, just gets absolutely slaughtered in the back line. I cannot believe that he just dies. Like, I'm just going to show it again one more
Simply, it
time.
would be
Like,
a 4-on-4 with that front
and
line against the back line of OC.
Poor guy.
I,
He just gets wiped out.
the first time I watched it, it was the only thing I can notice. But look, we're going to talk about Orange County and we'll get there in a little bit. But I was very bullish on our segment on soccer down here. And I said I was fully out on New Mexico because up to this point, I had nothing to believe in. Tim Bacchus has been bad, frankly. Their midfield had left a lot to be desired. Their forwards, they're still, really strong forwards there. I mean, Hurst, Santi Moar, those guys kind of speak for themselves. But I couldn't find anything to latch onto that says this is going to will this team into the playoffs. And then, like 2 days after I say this on Soccer Down Here, they do that, which we can say whatever we want about Orange County, but they also looked good while doing it. And I think there's a lot to be said there. But John, you were the one that did the breakdown. Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, but when I think about this New Mexico team, and it's something that you've pointed out before, Kaylor, I think that there's a tendency for them to be a little bit too adventurous in the way that they tinker. They don't play to their strengths. They tend to overthink what they're doing. This was a game where they started off with a good strategy that was going to take advantage of some of the weaknesses that Orange County has shown. When that strategy had a little bit of give and take, some ups and downs, they made the right adjustments. They just simplified the game. And they brought in Amanda Moreno, who's one of their most exciting, most skillful players. So they're playing their cards right, making the decisions that are the most obvious rather than getting in their own heads. There is something to be said about the fact that Orange County is down bad, and we'll get to that when we get there. But I think New Mexico has had a really rough schedule to start the year with a lot of away games. They've held their ground in a Western Conference that's pretty tight on the bubble, and I think that they have the potential to be a really solid team down the stretch, and they're a team that I think we collectively tend to underrate.
I just got to see him do it against someone else. I know. I think Orange County makes it a little bit easy on them just because of they're a little bit predictable, and like they have been playing really poorly. So I do think in terms of like templates to come up against, it's probably like the best one to try to figure out what's going to win the game. But yeah, I think it's encouraging for New Mexico fans that they finally started to see some of those link ups, like of these exciting players that they have, like in a way that was dangerous and effective. And so I think that if they can build on that and like put together some good runs of goal scoring form, like it is a very dangerous team for sure.
Oh, and can we just talk about real quick Greg Hurst scoring against Phoenix at midweek and then just celebrating his butt off? Like, that's fantastic. You love to see it.
I love everything about Greg Hurst in general. And if Phoenix wasn't just so horrible last year, I think he would have emerged as a superstar a lot sooner and shown us, like the people who don't pay attention to other leagues, what he is. But I think if New Mexico can stick with what they're doing, he is going to be a legit superstar in this league.
Yeah, and ultimately, this was just a result that New Mexico really needed. They hadn't won since the first week of the season against the Miami FC, but just once this year have they been shut out in games. And dating back to last season, this was just the fourth time that they scored more than three goals or more in a match. So it was definitely a good result for New Mexico. Some of their upcoming 4 games is RGV, Monterey Bay, Loudoun, and San Antonio, which definitely gives you a pretty good litmus test in there on a just kind of another, like Phil said, just prove it against another team. And we'll see kind of how they do from the rest of the month.
Absolutely. Now let's go ahead and move on, and we're going to stay in the West. But I think this one was actually played in the East. I don't know. But the story is from the West, and as the title of the show says, there is a real Rocky Mountain high and a real low down in the Patriots Point. As, hey, Charleston slips up against a switchbacks team who we were all very much down on, and out of nowhere they seem to be pretty decent. And I guess my question here is, when do I fully start believing in what Colorado Springs are doing? And how much can I chop this up to? Charleston does this thing where they only like to play well when they're losing, and they just can't keep it up forever.
I mean, the Colorado Springs, I'm not on the hype train yet with Colorado Springs. 9 goals for, 9 against, and 5 wins is not sustainable. Like, that's not, you can't have an even goal difference and win every game. Like, that's just not a thing. It's literally not possible. So anyways, like, I think right now they are riding their luck a little bit in terms of they are winning a lot of goals they're winning all of their games by 1 goal. Like, they're having but what I will say is they did put Charleston like off. And certainly like getting an early goal, like being able to kind of stretch Charleston early and like exploit that space in behind and actually take that one early chance, it does change how the rest of the game plays out. And Charleston had a lot of trouble like getting their feet under them and attacking in the way that they like to. I think we've seen that they like to be like quick in transition, aggressive, counter pressing. Well, when switchbacks have the lead against you, they're going to let you have the ball. So you're not able to do all of those things. And yeah, ultimately Charleston like really struggled to create good chances. And it was enough for Colorado Springs. I do think that there's a regression coming for Colorado Springs, and not just because El Paso play them on Friday.
I think the pushback point is that just looking at my XG numbers, they're the 6th best team in that metric right now in terms of just like expected goal margin. So there is some positive in terms of the underlying data. I think they're a uniquely good matchup against that Battery team. Given that 3-5-2, you've got an edge against the double pivot. If you can break past the first line of the press of the Battery, suddenly you've got Segrist and Deshane Beckford breaking down the flanks pretty much without anyone in the way. That was a weird game in terms of you got a stoppage for Lightning after 5 minutes and then everyone's just sitting for 2 hours. Like, that made
The
things
Tucson
really weird.
approach.
Right. So even within the context here, and we got it pointed out in the chat that Augie Williams was missing for the Battery. So there was a lot to play in here. It doesn't negate the fact that these are points in the bank for the switchbacks right now. And even if they are riding their luck to a pretty decent degree right now, they're doing good things and they're better than I was giving them credit for preseason.
And John, like you had mentioned, just talking about points in the bank, you started out last season with Colorado Springs winning basically 11 of their first 13 games that season. In their first 8 games, after 8 games last year, they had 21 points, and they're on 16 points already this year. So not quite at that same level, but they're banking a lot of points early. And as they kind of fell off towards the end of last season, they still maintained a pretty good seed within the Western Conference last year and was still the 3rd team at the end of the regular season based off of their work they're doing here early in the season. And yeah, Phil had mentioned that they have El Paso this week, which is a tougher matchup, but then you have Memphis, Indy 11, and Tampa Bay as your next 3 games for Colorado Springs, all on the road, mind you, that could provide a very interesting set of points to earn at that time.
And something that I don't want to go entirely unnoticed here, and I want somebody to fact check me because I could very well be wrong, but I don't think I am. Joe Kuzminski gets one over on the team that gave up on him. And I love
Interesting that he
everything
started
about
that
it.
game because he's not their regular starter too. Like, that was a big deal. Yeah.
I love everything about it. For me, Joe Kuzminski, he played at UAB and I watched him a lot in college. So there's a soft spot for me anyway for him. But just seeing him run out there, and there was not a bit of that whole, I'm not going to celebrate this win against my old club, because I mean, Heck, it even happened against Colorado Springs where, oh my gosh, Elvis Samo scored and just immediately put the hands up. Was like, I'm not going to celebrate, which might be one of the best celebrations ever because it's like I could celebrate, but I'm too good for that.
It's sort of a flex, like.
But Joe Kosminski did not care. And he absolutely put it to his old club. And yeah, the goal goes in, whatever. He doesn't get the clean sheet, but not everybody gets their Field of Dreams perfect moment. It was perfect for him, and I loved every single second of watching it.
Well, no, USL has made it as a league when we have someone doing an Emmanuel Abadayar celebration against their former team.
sprint the length of the field to go celebrate in front of the fans. that'll be Kosminski in an international friendly against Maccabi Haifa here in a little bit.
Oh man. Unless anybody else has any other points on this match, let's go ahead and go down to AutoZone Park, where Memphis continues their hot hand, getting a win against Atlanta United, who admittedly rotated the team a lot. But then they go down, Louisville goes down, and while Louisville was not at their absolute best, Memphis was going toe-to-toe with Louisville, getting a 1-1 draw out of the affair, which kind of continues what happened the year before, where the two seemed to be almost inseparable. And it was a dang good match, starting to get really chippy. It was fun to see the fans get really into that one as well. And Louisville is going to be going back up the interstate into Kentucky, and just like what happened, Tampa Bay is not as good as we thought. Charleston drops their points. This is our time to solidify ourselves up at the top and against a team that's not supposed to be that good. And Memphis kind of took it to them.
Is Louisville bad? Not bad, but like, is Louisville bad by Louisville standards? I think we kind of have to ask the question.
I was kind of looking at it because the question was brought up. I'm working on my goalkeeper stats, and
yeah, I noticed this too. I know where you're going here.
Yeah. I was looking at it and I was thinking, Kyle Morton's not that great this year. I don't know what was going on. They moved on to their new keeper. The kind of revolving door of a back line they have right now is kind of ridiculous, because while Kyle Morton's underlying numbers aren't great, even for, and I'm going to mess up his name, he's German and that scares me. Semel,
Semley, I think.
Semley would have never gotten there. Would have never gotten that. I always watch these matches with the audio off because I'm doing other things. I would have never gotten there. And even so, his numbers look fine, but Lou City, when their backline's good, it's the best in the league. When it's bad, it's really bad. Revolving door and just leaving their keepers out to dry. You can kind of tell when things are getting bad for them too, because I started noticing as I was watching the keepers and trying to keep up with the positioning. When they're not confident, they are not leaving their 18, which is a staple for Lou City in the past, and like Tampa Bay as well. But Lou City especially, they don't necessarily keep a sweeper, but when they are in possession and they love to keep possession, they are well outside the 18. And there were times where Lou City had possession and he was sitting not too far up the 6-yard box. When it's bad, it's just revolver door bad.
Going through the season, if you take away their 3-1 win they have over Orange County, Louisville hasn't scored more than 1 goal in a match all year, and they still have a negative goal differential as they have heavy defeats from Sacramento and El Paso on this schedule. They do have wins over Monterey Bay, Detroit, and San Antonio, but this just isn't the Louisville City team that we're used to seeing. Per my ELO ratings, they're still 3rd in the Eastern Conference where they are on the table, but they're the 8th best team in my ELO ratings at the moment right now.
Yeah, and I mean, statistically speaking too, in this one, just like looking at the numbers throughout, like Memphis, about a 1.6 XG, Louisville only create 0.8. So, nearly double the amount of chances or the quality of chances created by Memphis. The amount of shots they're conceding, Louisville only complete 74.5% of the passes that they attempted in this one, which doesn't seem like shockingly low, but for a team of the quality of Louisville, it just underlines kind of how they're not really gaining control of these matches. They're not really like creating a lot of chances for themselves. There's just a lot here that we expect from Louisville in terms of feeling comfortable in a USL match, and they're not doing it this year. And I think it goes even beyond, Kayla, like what you were talking about. I think it just like kind of suggests like a little bit of dysfunction kind of throughout the spine of the team. Yeah, I'm just a little bit shocked because I think we all were very comfortable preseason saying that Louisville will be one of the top 2 teams in the East, and the other team that we thought would be up there is also kind of like doing the same thing in Tampa Bay. So, anyways, yeah, kind of a strange one, and Memphis absolutely deserved to win.
I want to give the credit to Memphis here.
Yeah.
Just the way, I mean, both of their games this week. Traditionally with Pierman, they were very much a 4-2-3-1 team, pretty strictly. Glass was playing more of a 4-1-4-1, letting either Aaron Malloy or Jeremy Kelly push up higher. It led to the turnover that got them the tying goal late in that Open Cup game against Atlanta. It was giving fits to Louisville City, really forcing those center backs to step up even higher than they normally play with that really aggressive offside trap. And they were not finding that timing well. Memphis was getting in behind. So credit to 901, who really played this game well and is finding their footing after that rough defensive start to the season. Bill Hamid, despite the fact that he, no offense, is looking a little bit chunky, was really quick off of his line, like doing well too. There was a chance where Wilson Harris got past the defense, and Hamid was right there to get outside of his box and get a stop, which was a big deal. I think Harris is about the only player who's really looking top form for Louisville on the other side. They just don't have that spark in the midfield. Dylan Maris hasn't really got comfortable yet, and I think that's going to be a huge deal when he does. I'm not worried really about Lou City, but the way that they're playing now, and especially given that Winder has about a month or 2 left with this team, there's going to be a little bit more struggle as they go on.
Can I say something that might be rude? I feel like this is going to be really rude. Do you think Lou City's glad they sold Winder when they did?
I've never been the biggest Winder guy, frankly. Like, I see the potential. I don't know if I see the $1 million fee right now. If you can, given the fact that they've got Jordan Scarlett and Wes Sharpie waiting for the minutes, I don't think that they're particularly upset.
I mean, something else with Lou City, and this with Danny Cruz, they've gone to this 3-man backline, right? And when it's looked good, this is the same conversation we have with Tampa Bay, right? When it's looked bad, they're doing this kind of 4-man backline, except against Detroit City, where they went with like this 4-3-3, and they were really taking it to Detroit City, even though they didn't really seem like they cared that they were playing against Detroit City. That was one of the weirdest matches I've ever seen, where it looked like Lou City was trying really hard but didn't care whatsoever. But other than that, when they move away from that 3-man backline, they look weird. It doesn't look right whatsoever. But even so, when they are in that the 3-5-2, I think that they normally go with, it just feels really disjointed, and I don't understand. And it feels like maybe kind of like we're seeing with Neil Collins down in Tampa Bay. They're trying to change their system. They're trying to evolve it in some way. And players who have been around for a long time are kind of getting lost in what's the old way, what's the new way. I want to create this merger of the two. And that's kind of one of the hard things whenever you have a team that's been around together forever. I mean, you have still guys there who have been there since day one of the club existing, which is insane. Ben Goshorn just posted a picture of, what was it, Charlotte versus Lou City from like 2015, and there were still players that are playing today, and it was kind of wild to see. But whenever you see that, and you've been under this coach for 3 years now, it and you're starting to see a shift in system ideas. Maybe it's becoming a moment of players who have been around and playing the same thing. It's just not working. It's just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing because I have a million instructions in my brain right now. And which one am I supposed to be following? Am I supposed to be following the old one, the new one, the mix of the old and the new? Or is it the one that's supposed to be a little bit more this way? Like, what am I doing?
And this is really random, but there were 11 offsides decisions in this match between the two teams. 5 against Lou City and 6 against Memphis, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
I find it most disappointing that we won't get a Louisville Tampa Bay match until September.
What's the if things I kind of want we need to move on because we're kind of staying on these topics for a long time, but I do want to ask the question, by the time we get there, is there a chance that one of these teams are going to be guaranteed out of a top 4 finish?
No.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Good point.
That's Louisville's 7th to final game of the season. They do play each other on the final day of the regular season in October 14th, so that match could have some implications, but not their first meeting.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and move on to San Diego versus El Paso. Alan says that he has work to do and he is a busy man that has things to do. I think he's just trying to avoid Phil, despite the fact that he also said that it was probably going to be a San Diego loss just because they were going to go for it in the cup. And oh boy, did they go for it in the cup. It was rigged or something. I don't know. Hey, even so, El Paso, despite the underlying numbers not looking good, if you decide to look at, I always forget, I think it's GameFlow, the one that posts always on Twitter, it looks like San Diego should have won this match by 3 goals. If you actually watch the match, I don't think so. I think that El Paso really took it to San Diego, and San Diego looked tired and maybe a little inexperienced with some of the people that they decided to play that were not their A+ squad. Absolutely. But even so, that doesn't mean El Paso was just a much worse team that was lucky to get out with the result, let alone a win. I'm just going to toss it to you, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say that, like, all things considered, getting out of San Diego with 3 points, I'm going to take that all day, every day, no matter how you do it. I think it is a match that, with the numbers saying what they say, which is, I mean, the reality is San Diego create 4 opta-defined big chances and miss all 4 of them, which is, it's not nothing. You can't dismiss the fact that, like, San Diego could and should have scored more. But I think mentality, like, taking it away from the tactics and, like, into the mentality, this is, and I think I can confidently say that this is a match that neither a Lowry team nor a Hutchinson team wins, if they even draw. Like, the second that they got the punch in the mouth of the equalizer, the El Paso Locomotive fan in me, and the person who's, like, seen this story before, was like, we are going to lose. Like, there is no scenario in which this team holds on and much less wins, because they get sucker punched and often spiral. Like, or I say sucker punch, I just mean they take a hit and then they spiral. This team, like, immediately responded to go ahead, inside 5 minutes of conceding the equalizer. So to me, the difference in this one was there was a resilience. There was, like, another new tactical approach from Brian Clareout, like, to address some specific things that San Diego does, and which I think is continuing to be a theme of his managerial stint, is he is going to not, like, overhaul, but he's going to tinker with kind of the same system, but just do little things that make a big difference. And ultimately it does get them the 3 points, but the mentality for me, after conceding that equalizer, it would have been easy to kind of fold under the pressure that they were under, particularly, I mean, halftime to 60 minutes, like, San Diego was living in El Paso's attacking, defending third. And for them to get out with 3 points is a huge success. I do think that there are things that they'll take away from that game though and say like, we probably could have been a little bit more in control and maybe made it a little less uncomfortable. But yeah, that is like the overarching theme for this game, and like one of the best team goals that you're likely to see this season.
Yeah, just the only thing I want to hit here, because that was a great recap, from the San Diego side, I'm starting to see a little bit of pushback on the Ronaldo Damus experience of 2023. He got those 2 goals early on. He left some chances on the table in this game. It's very premature to start saying, I wish I had Kyle Vassell, he of boxing fame, in the middle of games. But like, I was never that high on regular season Damus, and I think we can get distracted by the fact that he went red hot in that playoff run. He's maybe not a great fit in a team that is so possessive that doesn't give him the chance to run in transition. I think it's something to watch going forward.
It was the clear out effect. Like he was just intimidated into some bad touches by his former boss at Sundsvall. No, I don't know. I think there might be something to like clear out, not like, breaking the bank to bring him with him, if that makes sense. Maybe there's more to that than what but yeah, he did have, there were a couple of times where I'm like, yeah, he buries this, and just a couple of bad touches, like, yeah, El Paso with probably one of, if it weren't for the Louisville win earlier this season, I would say this is their best ever result on the road. But yeah, so very pleased.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and I want to skip over the Legion match real fast. I do want to get to a little bit of League One, just real quick. This this Northern Colorado versus Union Omaha match was incredible. What really gets me about this match itself was, I think it was after 17 minutes, Northern Colorado gets that red card, and they scored 2 goals after that. And it was really fun to watch. And, Union Omaha finally start getting their goals. We've been kind of waiting to see what happened. They get 2 goals against Central Valley Fuego, but also Central Valley Fuego is, well, Central Valley Fuego, come at me, admin. Put your stupid link in at the tweet that you send out. Thanks. They don't really do much against Ford Madison before that, which no one really is. And their most impressive offensive performance up until this match was, I'm sorry, Phil, the 2-0 win over El Paso. But even so, even it being down a man or being up a man, getting 3 goals for Union Omaha is pretty big. But even so, Northern Colorado is proving to be a much better team than I gave them credit for. And they have great players, don't get me wrong. But I just don't feel like I didn't feel like they had the team to do it. I didn't think that they could build around the players that they have, and they have. And despite being down a man, getting 2 goals and pushing Union Omaha to the absolute brink, I think it was a wonderful performance out of Northern Colorado. I think if you're a Union Omaha fan, you're saying, hey, we got our points. We got 3 goals. It was down a man. But to counter that point as well, good God, that bicycle kick was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, just to talk a little bit more broadly, like you mentioned that red card. Omaha goes up 3-0 in this game. They dominate the run of play. It was really a nice style that let them break down Northern Colorado with width and stretch them out. Noah Metza, check out that highlight if you didn't see it. That's probably the goal of the week in either league, debatably. But credit to Northern Colorado, who, if they have anything, it's a lot of heart. They've shown it in the Open. They've shown it in this game. I don't know if they're going to be in the playoff mix. They've had middling results so far this season. but there are going to be a team that always gives you the full effort. And if you're not watching Arthur Rodgers, you're missing out on one of the best
So
fullbacks
good.
in the USL, period. Yeah.
He's not even a fullback. He
Right.
shouldn't be playing fullback. What are the
This
He's
is
so good.
this was the Liverpool Spurs of the USL weekend. Like Omaha out to a big lead. Northern Colorado looked like they would pull it back. I will say, like, the fact that Union did rely, like, the 3 goals, yet one is a ridiculous free kick, one is a bicycle kick, so there is a little bit of like maybe some question marks, but overall, like, they played really well, and they deserve to win. I think they did suffer a little bit just from taking their foot off the gas, you know, at 3-0 up, and almost paid the price, but luckily for Union, they saw it out.
Yeah, I mean, all last season they only scored 3 goals or more in a match just 3 times, and it really wasn't until North Carolina at the end of the year when they beat them 4-1 as their last like really big offensive display. So this is definitely a really good win, and this is only Northern Colorado's first loss in the league this season, leaving Forward Madison and Charlotte as the only unbeaten teams left.
Can I also just petition whoever compiles the highlights at USL, if someone is sent off for a second yellow card, can you please also include the first yellow card in the highlights package for those of us who aren't able to watch every single game, because it is really jarring, like 1 minute into a highlight package getting a second yellow card highlight and just not really knowing. I was like, did I miss it? Like, did I I had to rewind. So anyways,
I'm going to ask this question. Which one was the better goal? Mesa's goal and this one, the bicycle, or Cassini's goal for Tormenta last week?
Lean Cassini, maybe.
I think so too.
I don't know. There's something so satisfying about the way that Mesa connects with this bicycle. Like, it's not just like a shinner or something like that. Like, he fully connects like cleanly with this. So I don't know. It's tough. Like, it's not an easy decision, which tells you how good the Cassini goal is.
I mean, the chest touch with it too. I think the chest touch might be arguably the most impressive part about the goal, because it's so easy for that just to hit off your chest and go flying elsewhere. But he chested it like he knew he was going to go for a bicycle kick, which I think is one of the most insane things. Granted, at that point, you're up 2-0. It's like, I'm just going to try this. But also the idea of me in my mind saying, I'm going to try to do a backflip. That alone sounds like a mental thing to do, let alone in a competition. So unreal. Real fast on Legion versus Hartford. I don't want to go on to it too long. Legion goes down once. They level it after Enzo Martinez gets really angry because there should have been a penalty call. And you don't want to mess with the angry Enzo. Everybody knows that. And then goes the other way. There's a really good finish, I think. Is it by Lewis? It might be Lewis. I don't remember off the top of my head. And then Legion go and equalize once again. Prosper Casima on the left side goes to Enzo Martinez again because you don't want to mess with the angry Enzo Martinez. And then I'm so sick of him. I'm so sick of him. Richard Sanchez is useless. And yes, does Gabriel Alves probably trip him on the way out? Yeah, but also he goes down pretty soft, and he probably wasn't going to save it anyway because he doesn't save much to begin with. So I'm so sick of watching Richard Sanchez in net when they have Joe Rice back there. I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired of it. And I'm not even a Hartford fan. I don't care that much about the Whalers tribute band. I really don't. I just
Can we get the Kayla Go One pod without shitting on Richard Sanchez challenge?
I want Sanchez to play every single game of this season just to see like how unhinged Kaler gets by the end of the year. Like, will he even be able to appear on the pod out of anger?
I want to throw this out there because I say that he's useless. He's not the worst goalkeeper in the league according to my metrics, okay? The ones that I've been working on. So it's kind of like the out of 100, you know, because it's the same thing baseball does where the average is 100. He's at a rocking 71 right now. I I feel so bad about
I
Duke.
was gonna come in and try to defend him, and so I just plugged him into my data, and he's dead last in goals saved above average.
See, I was thinking Kaylor was gonna say he is not the worst by my metrics, but I will continue to tweak them until he is.
No, I can't. There's one guy. I don't. It's so bad. I'm just going to throw it out there because this is going to lead us into our next segment where we're going to talk about Orange County. Not a
Oh yeah,
not a Cropper, but is it Shuttler? Is that his
he's
name?
see, I'm not including him because he's not played enough. That's my thing. You have a Colin
Yes.
Shuttler.
I understand that, but when I'm telling you, when your average is out of 100, when league average is 100, and my numbers say that he is worth 0.68, he is almost 100% worse than the average player.
You want to know?
I'm 100% worse than the average player.
You want to know a fun fact about Orange County as we pivot that way is that they're, as a team, their save percentage this season is 48%. Like half of the shots they face are just going in. That's crazy.
You can
It's
flip
like-
a coin and have better odds.
It's like the reverse of Monterey Bay's
Right?
conversion rate.
Oh God, have they played yet?
Hold on, I'm checking their schedule.
Oh no.
Now.
If there's a
don't
twisted
think.
part of me that wants to see Monterey Bay and Orange County keep the trend for just one match, just to see social experiment kind of thing. But look, I want to post a lot of this stuff later, and it's going to make a lot more sense. But look, Chap-Low is out. I don't think anybody is shocked. They looked like they were figuring it out, and I'm going to say something mental. Maybe you get more of a leash if you can somehow get a longer leash than he's gotten. If you don't have the reigning Golden Boot winner, like the fact that he had the Golden Boot winner and they played the way they did, I am so shocked he was kept around this long. Maybe if they didn't have that kind of talent there, would he still have a job and say, we just don't have the players that you need, especially after going through and winning a championship? I don't know. But then you look at the players that were on that championship team, and it's like, man, like they played in Europe. One of them played in Ligue 1. Like you're dealing with really good players, and it's hard to say. And I don't want to speak for Orange County fans, but at what point should you have just cut bait and leave after last year?
I have a hot take on this, and I don't know if this is overly aggressive. Is it possible for a championship to paper over the cracks of a not very good team? Like, I'm not trying to say that they're like they won a title, and I know that to be true, but they also like they were only good in the playoffs. Like that's kind of they just were good in that one playoff, and it all has like fallen, like the wheels have completely come off, and somehow like it's just so strange because they won a title as just not a very good team, like, and that's why he got an additional year, because last year no one would have survived last year. Like no other coach would have survived how bad they were had they not won that title. Even if they would have maybe finished runners up, I think he would have been sacked. Like I think winning that championship was the only difference. And yeah, that wasn't meant to be like overly flippant about a guy losing his job, but like, man, I think it's been a long time coming.
I don't know. I mean,
think about,
you almost
go
look
ahead,
at it.
Ryan. Yeah.
Go ahead. I mean, you
There you
almost
go.
look at it just like what Gene Chizik did at Auburn when Cam Newton won the national title. It's like, okay, that's great, but like anyone who had those players probably would have done well that season. And I think Phil's spot on with saying winning that title kind of gave him a much longer leash than he probably should have earned. I mean, I would have cut ties at the end of last season. I posted a tweet right before we got on the show that this is the worst start Orange County has had through their first 8 games in the last 4 years, and it's their worst ever rating they've had through 8 games since 2014. Basically, this is the worst ever Orange County team we've seen in the Jake Edwards era up until now.
And they were terrible last year. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about that run they went on in 2021, they part ways with Cloutier mid-season. Chap-Low comes in and turns them into this team that just bunkers down, and they've basically got two routes to offense. That's lump it real long to Damas and hope something turns out, or kind of just let Eric Calvillo go hog wild in the midfield on the break. And hey, I mean, it got them a title. It was built for one-off playoff soccer. And then they lost both of those players going into the next season. Rob Kiernan was down injured all year long. Orange County invested in this team. They gave Chap-Low what he needed to try and rebound for 2023. And he still hasn't found a lineup that he likes. He's putting, like, Alex Villanueva in the past 6 weeks has played 5 different positions, from striker to left back to right back, all over the place. There's a real sense that he didn't know how to use a team that has a pretty clear vision of how they're built. So it was the right time to move on.
Yeah, I hate whenever I go and talk about this, because a part of what you do, and hey, I want to break my own fourth wall for a second, right? And whenever we're doing like podcast stuff, a lot of it's you want to talk about the stuff and present facts, but part of it is you say things and you do things to create discussion, right? Asking, is Lou City not that good when we all know they are good? Or me ranting about Dick Sanchez. I don't, I couldn't say that one. I'm sorry. I couldn't get past that one. When I rant about him, it's to spark discussion, right? And I want to start discussion about Chap-Low, but frankly, I feel sad that a man loses his job, but this is also a cutthroat sport. It's a cutthroat league. I mean, how across the world, especially if you look at Europe, I think the average length a coach stays at a team is what, a year? And unless you are winning championships or competing for championships every year, you don't keep a job in this sport. I hate that it ended this way, and I kind of hope that it doesn't go into I hate to say it like this too, a Rick Shantz thing where he hasn't popped up for anything. He was so good for so long and he hasn't popped up, whether that's his choice or teams have given up. I don't know. And I hope that doesn't happen the same for Chap-Low, because I think there's good coaching there. I think there are good ideas, because when Orange County was good this last year and this year, it was good. And there's glimpses there, but there's just no consistency. And whether that's players, coaches, or just a holistic view of the bunch, I don't know. But I want to move on to a much, much happier note. I want to go down to Monterey Bay and versus Pittsburgh. And just real fast, let's go to a no meaningless statistic by yours truly, Ryan Allen.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of No Meaningless Statistic. This is Ryan Allen from the USL Show, and this weekend, May 5th, 2023, is the debut of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, third movie of the trilogy and the 7th appearance of the Guardians in the MCU. But did you know that the Pittsburgh Riverhounds are unbeaten in their first match played after an MCU project debuts when the Guardians of the Galaxy make an appearance? In August of 2014, we had the first Guardians movie, which would then see the Pittsburgh Riverhounds win 3-1 over Los Tos the very next day. In May 2017, we had Guardians 2, which is my personal favorite appearance of the Guardians, which would then see the Riverhounds beat Ottawa Fury 1-0 about a week later. They then made another appearance in Avengers Infinity War in April 2018, which would then see the Pittsburgh Riverhounds beat Atlanta United 1-0 on the very next day. They made their return in Avengers Endgame in April 2019, which would then see Pittsburgh draw 2-2 with Nashville as a comeback goals from Valesky and Kimura's own goal in 88 and 90 +2 rescued the result. They made another appearance in Thor: Love and Thunder in last summer, which would then see Pittsburgh beat the Miami FC 4-1 a day later. And then they also had the holiday special in November 2022, which would then see their very next match be the season opener in March of 2023, which would be a 1-1 draw with Birmingham. This weekend, you have Pittsburgh traveling to Monterey Bay. It is roughly 6 years to the day after Guardians 2 debuted, and 3,200 days since the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie debuted. Will this interesting streak between the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Guardians of the Galaxy continue? Let's see and find out. Thank you for watching.
And if Phil or John could quickly check their BetStamp app, betstamp.app/sign up, use code USL. I think the odds for Pittsburgh just went way up. That's science.
I am absolutely second guessing my Monterey Bay pick. The evidence is just, it's there for anyone to see.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, by the way, plus 222 right now. So bet $10, win 22 back. Eh?
Not bad.
Spend it on your ticket to
Hashtag
go watch.
ad.
Yeah, go spend it and go buy your ticket to watch Guardians of the Galaxy directly after the match. It's easy. We are giving you free money. Correlation is causation. That is correct.
That's how podcasts work, John.
Man. Look, we didn't really predict the match for Orange County. We'll hit that, I guess, at the very end. We'll go really fast. But first, let's go ahead and do this Monterey versus Pittsburgh. Does Alex Dixon say screw my former team and screw this streak, or does he say I really like Marvel, man, and let Pittsburgh have whatever's going on for them? I'll start with John.
Yeah, went draw here. These are two teams that know how to shut it down defensively when they need to. Monterey at home is a big deal, but hey, you're getting the Guardians bump if you're Pittsburgh, so they're not going to lose.
It's true. Ryan?
Yeah, I went draw as well. It's hard to pick against the Guardians of the Galaxy bump, but it's a very even match. I think it'll be a pretty exciting one. And I guess what you're really looking into is just, can Monterey Bay continue their just abnormally great conversion rate they've had on the season? So I'll be curious if we can get an over or under 2.5 goals on this game as well.
I have Monterey Bay. They'll take 3 shots. All 3 will go in. And they'll get the win. No, I think the travel is the biggest thing, just the toughest thing going against Pittsburgh. But I mean, as you said, the evidence is there. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy have Pittsburgh's back, so I'm kind of taking a rough angle here, but we'll see.
I'm going with Monterey Bay just because I think Alex Dixon is going to steal the Guardians of the Galaxy collection from Bob Lilly on the way home. And I think it's really going to get Robert up in, arms and do another one of those, like, slamming the chair down like he did in Louisville. I think he's really going to get under his skin. In all reality, I do think the travel is going to get to Pittsburgh a little bit. Pittsburgh has shown signs of being really, really good and being able to lock it down defensively, but also when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. And I think I still really believe in Monterey Bay, but this is also when Robert is just going to prove me wrong and have like a 1-0 win. But I'm still going to take Monterey Bay in this case. Cannot wait for him to prove me wrong. Now let's go ahead and go down to St. Petersburg, where Tampa Bay is taking on Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising, who gets a pretty good win over a young and scrappy Loudoun United team. And Tampa Bay gets also a really nice win over their scrappy Detroit City team.
Yeah, I went draw here as well. I may be stupid, but I'm a believer in the fact that Tampa Bay is going to get right pretty quickly here. That said, I think Phoenix is playing really well. I think that they match up nicely with Tampa Bay, and there's a real scenario where they go out and win this game pretty convincingly. But I'm a simp for Neil Collins, so draw.
Yeah, Phoenix is one of 3 teams right now in the league who are unbeaten in their last 5 games. And like John has said, they've been in good form. There's only one match this year that they've been shut out, and that was their early season loss to San Diego. I think they actually do get the victory here over Tampa Bay. And then when you line up Hartford, Orange County, and Las Vegas as Phoenix's next 3 games after this, you could see a very good run of form from Rising here.
I have Tampa winning, and it's all down to humidity. That will be the difference maker.
It's not a bad shout, I'll be honest.
The humidity.
Phoenix won't be able to dry heat.
Yep. And Phoenix won't be able to cope. So that is so Tampa Bay.
the moment you step off the plane and you realize you're drowning before you're ever walking, it's not a great feeling. I'm taking Phoenix, and I feel stupid because I'm locking it because while John is simping for Neil Collins, I mean, Juan Guerra has my heart. This has nothing to do with tactics. This has everything to do with attraction. But in all
Hey, this is my territory, bud. You can't just jump all over this.
Hey, look, I was kind of on the fence until I saw him in person, and I was all the way in. But look, in all reality, I don't trust what I'm seeing out of Tampa Bay still. And that's not to say that they were close against San Diego. They kind of got it right against Detroit City. But even so, I just trust Phoenix more. And Phoenix has shown they can handle the travel. They go down to Birmingham and get a win. And, I think that they can handle that travel. They can handle going into a different environment and getting a 3-1 win over Loudoun. This isn't your grandma's Loudoun. This is a pretty good team, and they dominated. So I think Phoenix keeps the hot hand. I'm locking it. Phoenix gets the dub. Moving on, we are going to go to the humble abode that is a Keyworth Stadium. We have Detroit versus Tulsa, which I think pre-stream or maybe during it, someone brought up the odds for a draw, and hey, code USL. Golly, I'm really pushing that today. You might want to do that, but Detroit looks to get right against Tulsa, who does the unthinkable and not only gets a result against Sacramento, but they score a goal against Sacramento, which is unheard of. And now they're going up to wonderful Keyworth. Can they do it on a it's probably going to be raining in Keyworth. I'm just going to be honest. It's a good chance it'll rain.
Yeah, I've got Tulsa just straight up winning this game. I know I was positive a couple weeks ago. I'm out on the Detroit offense. I think Tulsa is due for some wins here. I think they've been playing really well and not getting the results that they maybe deserve. So they get right in Keyworth because everyone gets right at Keyworth.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsa and Detroit are two of the 4 teams in the league right now who don't have a win in their last 5 games. But yeah, I think Tulsa get the victory here as well. Detroit is winless at Keyworth this season in the league, and they've lost all those games 1-0. I think Tulsa get the win.
I have Detroit turning it around this week. But one of the things that Tulsa's really good at, and one of their best players, Marcus Epps, that is going to be a little bit limited by the narrow confines of Keyworth Stadium. So I think Tulsa's ability to spread the play and that sort of stuff is going to be pretty limited. It hasn't stopped other teams from scoring at Keyworth, obviously, but I don't know. Detroit are going to find a way. They're due.
If you're looking for someone to keep your eye on in this match, personally, I'm looking at Tulsa's left back, Brett Levis, and it's not the other Levis that you watched on the NFL draft that was having a straight up not good time. This guy came from the Canadian Premier League and has been really good. And something we've talked about in the past is the wings and utilizing the wings for Detroit City. And I think especially that defensive left side or the attacking right side for Detroit City is going to be their kind of way into this match and win it. While I am all the way in on Brett Levis, I kind of think that this is going to be the time that Detroit gets right. I don't believe in Michael Nelson or Warmel right now. I just don't think they're that great. And for a team that is struggling to score goals, this is the team that you have to score on, frankly. And I think maybe not, but I think if Detroit City gets a goal, maybe, when it rains, it floods situation, I think it'll get them on track for this match because it's going to be hard for me to see Tulsa just scoring against still a really good Detroit City defense. moving on once again, we are going to be going out to sunny Irvine, California. Going against a really good San Diego team that is coming off 2 really hard losses. Does San Diego get it right against a struggling Orange County team, or does Orange County get the new manager bump?
Yeah, I mean, we spent probably 10 minutes crapping on Orange County. I've got San Diego in a lock here.
Yeah, Big Sam Allardyce isn't coming in for the new manager bounce for Orange County, so San Diego in a lock.
Yeah, San Diego. I think they just figure out their conversion stuff, and they're probably going to create a lot against Orange County because they just haven't really been able to slow anyone down in that department yet so far.
I'm stupidly going with Orange County just because I really believe in the new manager bump. It's one of the few things in sports that I will blindly believe, and it'll prove me wrong occasionally, but it proves me right more often than it doesn't. And honestly, this year is not going great for me for predictions anyway. I might as well do something off the wall because I'm never getting back into this competition anyway. So I'm going Orange County with this win. And
who is their new manager, Kaylor?
Sean Deitch, I hope.
I was just like, we believe in the new manager bump. Do we know who he is?
ChatGPT.
Do they announce one?
No, there's not anybody in there yet.
Yeah, the wiki still says Chap-Low. So
check your DMs. It could be you.
Local football club wants
Give me the
you.
Yeah, it's like those articles from Football Manager when it's like they've shocked the world by hiring relative unknown like Phil Bakke.
Morten Carlson. I don't know if that's real or not. I'm just going to violently believe it. I want to see it just be Milanowski and him just look at the team and say, "Pass it to me." That's all. Like, I don't care what formation you play, pass it to me. Just throwing it out there. So for one last match to predict in this one, we're going to be going to Chattanooga, who went down early to Lexington and then turned it on for 3 goals, where it looks like Chattanooga is finally starting to get it right. But I also said that 3 weeks ago before they completely fell apart again. Going against Tormenta, who really does look like they're getting it right, who has Dangler back in their team after he was out for a long time with injury. And for Chattanooga, who seems to score in bunches, and by score in bunches, I mean they have 2 games where they scored like more than a goal, versus Tormenta, who defensively looked good, gets one of the best center backs in the league back. What's going on down in Eastridge, John?
I kind of struggled with this one. I know I'm very in on what Tormenta's doing, but they also just dropped that last game 3-1. Like, they're not invincible. Red Wolves really seem to figure it out at the end of the last one. That said, South Georgia is going to win this game, even though it is away and USL League One beat like that. But I don't know. I believe in Tormenta more than I do Chattanooga.
I actually went with a draw for this one. I think with Chattanooga and Tormenta being the only teams in the top 6 right now with a negative goal differential, I think they'll kind of be pretty even. But yeah, a draw.
I went Tormenta against. I actually found myself this whole week picking opposite of what I typically do, which is home teams to win. In USL League One, I almost went exclusively with the teams traveling. So, but yeah, I think it is just a belief in Tormenta, and I am still kind of seeing Chattanooga's result last week as a blip.
I mean, frankly, I'm going to go back to the way I thought about it last year. Tormenta hates winning at home and loves to win away. Like, they have this absolute disdain for getting points at home, whether it's because they are also taking the Tucson approach and just having delays before every single match. Whether that's really messing with them, even though it was really good for Tucson, I don't know. But Tormenta's away from home. They always do well away from home. And I just still believe in Tormenta more than Chattanooga. Chattanooga was absolutely gutted for personnel this year. Coach Ziggy still doesn't. I don't believe in him enough in what he's doing. I just believe in what's what El Paso legend Ian Cameron's doing. So, I'm taking Tormenta.
He's the GOAT.
What kind of salad was it, Phil?
It was a watercress salad.
Legend.
I don't know. I'm making I did some. I got our production assistant to do some looking up at Morton Carlson, who's been an assistant of Richard Chap-Low's at OC. Previously the manager of Nordsjælland's U19s in Denmark and HB Koge in Denmark.
These are confirmed Danish pronunciations, by the way.
Yep, 100% authenticity. And he was an assistant at Aarhus as well before coming over to OC. Looks like, I mean, he got pretty middling results, but he was also in charge of like pretty middle of the road clubs. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what that means, but that's who he is.
Middle of the road is a vast improvement to this season.
Yikes.
I mean, you would think through the Rangers, and who else do they have? They have Feyenoord. Do they not? Can they not just send one of their academy coaches or like assistant coaches and be like, "Here, man, here's a coach for a little bit," because I mean their seasons are done. At least for a little bit, like until you can find a coach. Here's a coach that we really like that we could think of being a head coach one day. Give him a test ride. Who do you have? Morton Carlson? Please. Isn't
Feyenoord about to like win the league?
Yeah. Yeah. They could go with another Rangers legend and an LA Galaxy connection in Steven Gerrard. He's looking for work.
Could you imagine Steven Gerrard showing up into Irvine? I mean,
could you imagine Didier Drogba doing that? And he did.
True.
That's true. Steven Gerrard just goes down. Him and Milan Lasky playing together. I mean, I would pay you good money to see it. I'll be honest with you.
I only wanted if he's a player coach, right?
Yeah, player manager, 100%.
Oh man, look. Long episode today. We had a lot of talking points between people getting fired and people leaving. I mean, it's a sad episode all around, but also, I got my Richard Sanchez rant out, so I feel pretty good about myself. I get to go home, feeling like I got my therapy for the week. I don't know. So, any final USL thoughts for anybody? No. All right, I'm going to go ahead, John. What you got?
Yeah, I totally had something like that I thought about beforehand, and I am just blanking hard. So, like, desperately trying to think of. I'm in the middle of trying to find a new apartment because they are hiking my rent. So I've got like life distractions going on. So we'll see what gives with that. But I know what I was gonna say. Support the Writers Guild strike. This always ends up being a pro union podcast. This is no different now. We all enjoy TV and entertainment. Support the people who put in the hard work to make it happen.
Yeah, that video of Conan started floating around again after that happened. Whenever they had their writer strike, and and shout out Conan first off for that whole situation, but also, when in doubt, most of the time, not all the time, if there's a strike going on, pro union. We're pro player. We're pro worker. Millionaires and billionaires don't need more money. If you want to donate some of it to me, that'd be great. Thanks. Support the writers, please. And even though the younger generation doesn't watch TV anymore, they're still consuming content all the same. It's not an irrelevant thing. So support them for sure. Also, I got to ask you, John, while you are writing, your top 50 got a little bit of heat from some people. How do you feel knowing that Las Vegas hates you, even though they largely don't exist?
Yeah, I mean, just to fill in the people who didn't see this because no one follows Isidro Sanchez on Twitter. Las Vegas's coach like retweeted my thread about the Vegas game and was making fun of the fact that I didn't rank any Vegas players in my top 50 and was like counting how many San Antonio players were in the top 10. So go off, King. Love the guy, but yeah.
We didn't talk about that match, but man, that was a good one.
How many
Crazy.
USL parents were in the replies?
I kind of realized that Sam Gleadle has like 8 cousins and brothers who were all mad about the result there, but yeah.
USL
favorite-
families go hard in
They do.
in social media in support
Wilson
of their.
Harris's mom is a big retweet person too whenever I say
Yeah.
anything positive.
Yeah.
Just
been
wait,
a
we'll
fan-
have a 38-year-old Gio Reyna joining, I don't know, Louisville one day, and
Oh no. I don't think he's around you. I don't think that parent's allowed around soccer anymore. I think he is firmly banned. Ben Famu's mom, wonderful lady, retweets a lot of stuff. Surprisingly fun family to be around. Again, Enzo Martinez, that whole family. If you post anything that revolves around Enzo on Instagram, they are all over it. They cannot get enough of it. Good, bad, and different. They see Martinez, they're in, and I love that for them. Shout out USL families, I guess.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what you got?
Yeah, outside of Guardians 3, which I'm excited for this week, I've just been running a bunch. I did, I think, 5 miles on the beach the other day. But other than that, I'm hoping to do another really long run on the beach and just do like one end of the island to another. I think Wrightsville Beach here, I can get like a good 10-mile loop in. So planning on doing that soon.
Can I tell you something that's been bugging me? Speaking of running on the beach, there's a YouTube ad that has this one lady like leaving her house and going on a full on like 40-yard sprint on the beach, but they're like implying she runs like a full mile. And I'm like, no one's Usain Bolting sprinting down the beach for a full mile. And then she just doesn't look like it bothered her whatsoever. And it drives me insane. No one runs like that on the beach. No one. It drives me nuts. Unless you do it, then I would love to see a video of that, just full on 40-yard sprinting for a mile on the beach.
I can't sprint for once I get to the beach. I've already run like 3 miles at that point, and I'm not sprinting anymore.
Fair point. Phil?
Yeah, I'm I don't know. I feel like the work noise is finally like calming down somewhat. The last few weeks have been a little bit crazy. So me and my wife are trying to catch up on shows right now, but I can't help, and I know this is still a ways away. This is a full month away, but I am so overly excited for the release of I Think You Should Leave season 3 on Netflix. It is the most unhinged sketch show that you will ever watch. I know everybody's seen the memes. If you haven't seen the show, give it a shot. It's not for everybody, but if it is for you, it will be like deeply rewarding. And you've got a month to watch the first 2 seasons, which are super duper short and easily binged. But yeah, I'm like weirdly excited for because I'm absolutely obsessed with that show. It's literally me and my sister basically converse in lines from the show. So yeah, it is it just like consumes my brain where I like randomly will think about, oh yeah, that comes out May 30th. Like
Amazing.
Oh man. For me, I guess personal world stuff. It hit May yesterday, obviously, May 1st, and I was like, oh God, I get married this month. And then I was like, oh God, I have crap I gotta do. And Catherine and I were together and we were just like, oh, we get married this month. And we both had a moment of just like, uh-oh. So as we say this, as we are still sitting on a twin-sized couch or a twin-sized bed as our couch in our living room, we are thriving right now. But we did find vegetarian chicken nuggets that taste just like chicken nuggets, and it's incredible. Couldn't tell you what the brand is, but it's awesome. It's at Publix. Great box. It's really good.
Guess my invitation got lost in the mail.
I mean, you were going to be in Birmingham for that for the El Paso game anyway. I just kind of figured it was going to be a stop on the way.
Yeah. That's right.
So,
Kayla, what I'm hearing is you need a USL Twitter table at the reception.
Look, I want to say this quietly because she's in the living room. I'm definitely planning to wear like Legion stuff underneath. I want to hope she does not notice. I want to be real with you.
Yeah, Kayla, just put me at a table with all of the USL dads.
If I can, everybody who watches the show, if you're a USL dad, go ahead, slide into the DMs. Just let me know. Like, let me know what you're coming. It's going to be hash browns, I think. Hash browns, mimosas, limit 2 per person. A little heavy on the champagne. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Kayla, what I'm most excited about for the Birmingham Legion gear underneath the suit is that if there's some sort of Birmingham news or a match that breaks at the time, it's just going to shine like the bat signal out there. And like, I have to go, and then
look,
there's a podcast mic that needs my discussion.
I won't lie. There's a part of me that this is so stupid. This is incredibly dumb. I'm thinking about pre-recording stuff ahead of time so I don't miss any uploads. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I'm like, you shouldn't do that. But my brain is like, you got to do it.
I felt that when I graduated last year, I felt like the same shame of like, oh, I've got family in town. I shouldn't try to like recap every game that goes on. Like, but you gotta.
Oh my God, wait, I do graduate in like 3 days, and that's insane.
Crazy.
So yeah, I didn't think I was going to do it. I fully believed I was going to fail every class for the rest of the time, but here we are getting D's in every class for the rest of the time. But you know what? I graduate. By God, they can't stop me. So yeah, that's it's a weird thing, and I don't understand why. It's not like I'm making a lot of money from this. It's like a livelihood's going on, but I'm like, boy, gotta do it. Oh well. Yeah, check out betstamp.app/signup, code USL. I believe tomorrow or Thursday, another episode of Kit Season is coming out. So check that out. They've been posting some really good stuff. It's really entertaining content. So check that out. And starting in 2 weeks, I do believe, we're going to start getting podcasts and written articles for protagonists up. So you're starting to see the USL show in that written loop, and hope you consume all the content. If you do enjoy any of your content creators, not just this one, but just any of them that you listen to, seriously, go rate their podcasts, go share their stuff. It may seem weird because I know every time someone tells me, go like, subscribe, and share it around, I rarely share the content because it feels weird. It's like no one really cares what I listen to, but it means the world to creators, and it's a simple way to let you know, hey, I care about you. So go ahead, do all the fun stuff. But even though he wasn't here because he was too afraid to look Phil in the eye after that loss, let's go ahead and hear it from Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.